Have you ever experienced someone laying hands on you inappropriately? Whether it's a pastor or preacher or an evangelist, we're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. God bless you. Thank you for joining me on Morning Nugget. And I pray that this exhortation finds you well this morning. We're going to talk about laying on of hands. You know, we go to church and we go to the altar, and the evangelist or the pastor or the preacher might make an altar call and might even lay hands on us. And let's talk about that. Now, in the Bible, you can see laying hands meant different things. There are different situations surrounding the topic of laying hands. Now, in Leviticus 24:14, laying hands meant to inflict harm on someone. In fact, there are many scriptures in the Bible that speaks of laying hands from that aspect. Also, laying hands was done during a ceremony, like when somebody was anointed into like the priesthood. According to Numbers 8 and 10, they laid hands on the Levitical priest, and that's probably more closely to what we do now when we affirm or confirm someone who's coming into the ministry or maybe being ordained as a apostle or a prophet or a pastor or a preacher, the bishop or someone over that organization, or some organizational leader would come down and lay hands on this person that is coming into that area of ministry. Also, laying hands was done for the purposes of healing, according to Luke 13:3. The Bible there are a few scriptures about laying hands on the sick. So that is appropriate. And of course, it seems to be a contradiction, but it isn't. 1 Timothy 5:22 teaches us that we should not lay hands on anyone suddenly. In fact, I think the King James Version say lay hands on no man suddenly. So what that meant, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't lay hands on the sick, right? But that means that it goes back to that ceremony. It goes back to preachers who were just starting out in the ministry. Paul was telling Timothy, don't be so quick to lay hands. Don't be so quick to bring people in the ministry and say, okay, you're a prophet, you're an apostle, you're a preacher. Don't be so quick to call them in. They need to grow and mature and stuff. So we have a lot of preachers nowadays, soon as you can holler and they want to ordain you as a pastor. So Paul was telling Timothy, don't be so quick to do that. In fact, one instance in the scripture says, wait on your ministry. We need to wait on God to anoint. We need to wait on God to call us. Then they can come and lay hands on us as they would do in those ceremonies. So that's what laying hands mean from a biblical perspective. So I guess in our modern day churches now, we just took laying hands to a whole nother different level. My gosh, and it's just a lot of foolishness nowadays. We got some churches, some pastors who lay hands on the sick and they do recover, and that's good. That's scripture. We have pastors where they lay hands on people and they get slain in the spirit. But we also have those pastors and ministers and evangelists that'll lay hands on you and will push you down. It's like you almost have to put on the whole armor of God, so to speak, to go up there to get prayer. You got to take a self-defense class because they're going to push you down and break your neck. They're going to hit you in the chest. They're going to hit you in the stomach. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Have y'all ever gone up for prayer and somebody just hit you like that? I'm like, gosh, that hurt. Or they hit you in the stomach. Y'all, I tell them, don't hit me. Just pray for me. Lay hands on me. You know, when I lay hands, I don't really too much lay hands on people. When I lay hands on people, I touch their hands or their shoulders. I don't push people or try to force people or hit people. I'm not there to beat people up. We're there to get people healed and restored, not to beat them down. But I see a lot of preachers nowadays that will like fight you. And my God forbid if you don't fall down. Ooh, if you don't fall down, they'll keep on praying and pushing until you fall completely out. You see the picture here that I'm putting up right now, this inappropriate laying on of hands, where sometimes you have a male preacher up there touching women inappropriately. We know that's not the purpose for laying hands. That's not the purpose for laying hands. When somebody pushes you down, you do not have to fall down. And you can see where this other man is spraying this lady. It's a lot of foolishness at this altar, y'all. What is going on with our churches? Just lay hands. And if you don't fall down, so what? You don't fall down. You do not have to fall out on the floor in order to receive. In fact, there are many instances where people were healed in the praise and worship. People were healed while the word of the Lord was going forth, and no one had to lay hands on them as long as Jesus lays hands on you. That's the main thing. We're just a vessel that God uses, right? So if you don't fall out, that's fine. I don't expect for you to fall out when I lay hands on you. I would like for you to receive the prayer, but we don't have to do all those theatrics. Now, do I believe in being slain in the spirit? Oh yes, I believe that the Spirit of the Lord can overpower you where you just go out. I do believe that, right? But all this pushing and hitting and stuff and all this foolishness these people are doing, ooh, friend, y'all know I get mad about stuff like that. Let me go ahead and calm down. Just lay hands on the people. Here's a little funny story. I remember a few years ago, someone was laying hands on me, or they called me up for prayer. And y'all know how Benny Hinn would do. He would sling his hand like that, or he would sling his coat and people would fall out. Well, this particular preacher, he didn't have a coat or nothing, but he did his hand like that, and he did an automatic put my defense up. It was just an automatic response. I'm sorry. I mean, I thought you were going to hit me. You know, Pastor Nate is not a violent person, but I'm going to protect myself. My God. Woo! My God, that was funny. I'm sorry. He did his hand like that, and he did that. But actually, he was just going to do this. I guess I was supposed to fall out, or, you know, the wind of God coming from him. Maybe it was that, but I don't know. You know, he just did like that, and he did that. And I put my hand up. I'm like, no, I'm not going to let this man hit me. I don't know about y'all, but you're not going to knock me down or whatever. I'll tell you in a minute. Don't push me. Don't hit me. You know, pray for me. I don't know where we get this from, where we feel like we have to push people down. Y'all help me. Put a comment in the comment section. And you know, back in the day, I think it was Peter, you know, his shadow, he didn't even lay hands on people. His shadow, and people were healed. Ooh, and they even had handkerchiefs. Didn't even lay hands, just used the handkerchief, and people were blessed by that. Preachers, look, evangelists, stop trying to make people fall out on the floor. Stop pushing people. Stop beating people when they come to the altar, and just pray for them. But we have to lay hands in the right way and use it for the right purpose, and not for self-gain. Because we feel like if people fall out or they respond and they do all the theatrics when we lay hands, like we won something or something, like, yeah, I got them to fall out, I got them to respond. That's the feeling I get nowadays with these preachers. Y'all, look, it's not about our glory, it's about the glory of God. God gets the glory. Whether they stand, whether they dance, whether they respond, whether they speak in tongues, whatever happens when you lay hands, the purpose of you is to, whatever burden they came up with, whatever sickness, is that God would deliver them and set them free, whether they fall out or not. It's not a game. This is something real. People come up because they need answers. They need deliverance. They need to be set free. This is not something to play with, friend. I don't mean to argue this morning. I pray that this exhortation bless you this morning. In the meantime, in between time, be at peace and not in pieces. Till next time, my friend.